All right, so today we're diving into something uh, pretty intense, right?
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it.
We're talking about Islamic eschatology.
Big word, I know.
It is a big word, but essentially we're talking about the end of times, right?
Yeah, the end of the world as we know it, all that good stuff.
Exactly. And within Islamic eschatology, there's this really intriguing, almost terrifying figure, Dajjal, right?
Oh yeah, Dajjal, the big bad guy, so to speak.
Exactly. The deceiver, the one who's
Yes.
supposed to come and really test humanity's faith.
It's not going to be a walk in the park when he shows up, that's for sure.
No, not at all. And to help us unpack all of this, we're taking a look at the work of Sheikh Imran Hossein. He's a leading scholar on this topic,
A very insightful scholar, definitely worth listening to.
for sure. And what we're going to focus on today is one of his lectures, one that really stood out to me. He proposes a thought-provoking idea about when Dajjal might have actually been released into the world.
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting. I mean, most people think of Dajjal as this figure who's, locked away somewhere waiting for the right time to emerge.
Right, kind of like imprisoned, waiting to be unleashed.
Exactly. But Sheikh Imran Hossein presents a different perspective, one that I think is worth considering. He starts by talking about this amazing story of Tamim Udari.
Okay, hold on. Who's Tamim Udari?
So, Tamim Udari was a companion of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Okay, got it.
And during one of his sea voyages, his ship got caught in a storm and ended up on this mysterious island.
Sounds like something straight out of a movie.
Right. And on this island, Tamim Udari encounters this being who's chained up. And guess what? This being claims to be Dajjal.
Whoa, wait a minute. So he actually met Dajjal.
According to the story, yes. And the being even goes on to describe things about Dajjal that align with the prophecies. It's a really compelling story. And it's been passed down through Islamic tradition for centuries.
So it's like this confirmation, right? Like, hey, Dajjal's real and he was imprisoned. But now, here's where it gets a little tricky, right? Because the Quran itself, it doesn't actually mention Dajjal by name.
That's a really good point. You'd think a figure so central to the end times, to these prophecies, would have a more prominent mention in the Quran.
You would think so, right?
But he's not explicitly named. And Sheikh Imran Hossein, he picks up on this. He suggests that maybe the Quran intentionally avoids naming Dajjal directly.
Okay, why would that be?
Well, it kind of forces us to think critically, to really examine the signs and not just rely on a name.
I see. It's like a puzzle we have to solve.
Exactly. And this leads us to another very significant event. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he encountered this young Jewish boy named Ibn Sayyad who lived in Medina, and he questioned him about being Dajjal.
Wait, the prophet thought this boy might be Dajjal.
It's more nuanced than that. See, the Prophet, he didn't outright accuse the boy. He phrased his question hypothetically. He said, if he is Dajjal.
Ah, okay, so it was like a possibility, not a definitive statement.
Precisely. And that's the key takeaway here. Sheikh Imran Hossein, he interprets this specific phrasing as a sign that Dajjal was no longer bound at that time.
Oh, I see. So he's saying the prophet wouldn't have asked the question that way if Dajjal was still stuck on that island.
Exactly. If he was still chained up, the Prophet wouldn't have even considered the possibility. But the fact that he did suggests that Dajjal was potentially already out in the world.
Okay, this is pretty mind-blowing. So if Sheikh Imran Hussein's right, that means Dajjal is already here, right? He's been released.
That's what his analysis points to, and that's why he emphasizes the urgency of understanding Dajjal and his signs. He says we need to be vigilant to really pay attention to what's happening around us.
I mean, it's kind of scary, right? If Dajjal's influence is already at play, what are we supposed to look out for? What are the signs?
Well, Sheikh Imran Hossein, he's done extensive work on this.
Yeah.
He connects the signs of Dajjal to events happening in our modern world. Things like the rise of materialism, the decline of morality, the increasing control of media, and the manipulation of information.
Yeah, I mean, when you put it that way, it does make you think the world's in a pretty crazy state right now.
It is, isn't it? And I think that's the point Sheikh Imran Hossein is trying to make. It's not about scaring us, it's about raising awareness. It's about encouraging us to strengthen our faith, to hold on to the truth, to be prepared for the challenges ahead.
So it's not about panicking, but about being informed and aware.
Exactly. And about recognizing that even in the face of immense deception and trials, ultimately, truth and justice will prevail.
This has been a really intense but incredibly insightful deep dive. The idea that Dajjal might already be among us, it really makes that story of Tamimu Dori hit home.
It does, and it reminds us that we're not just living in any random point in history. We're living in a time where these prophecies could be unfolding right before our eyes.
Wow. So what do we do with all of this information?
I think the most important thing is to remain steadfast in our faith, to seek knowledge and to strive to live righteously, to be beacons of truth to a world increasingly shrouded in darkness.
That's a powerful message. It's not about giving in to fear, but about facing these challenges head on with faith and determination.
And knowing that we're not alone in this, we have each other, we have our communities, and most importantly, we have our faith to guide us.
Beautifully said. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us, everyone. Remember, even though the world might seem chaotic and confusing, even in the face of immense challenges, we have the power to choose hope, to choose faith, and to choose to stand firm in the face of adversity.
Absolutely. And to always remember that the ultimate victory belongs to truth and justice.
And with that, we end this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay strong.